Mavs fans, what's going on? Welcome into NBA Now from Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jimmy Crowther, and look, the NBA preseason has started. The Dallas Mavericks are in full swing. We saw their first game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's what today's show is all about, is the Dallas Mavericks preseason. We're going to start this one off with a little recap of what happened against the Oklahoma City Thunder in their first game on Tuesday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I know you're like, wait, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why were they playing in Tulsa? It's just a new venue. They try it out in the preseason. They play in some random places. The Mavs will also be playing in Canada when they play the Clippers. And in case you weren't aware, neither of those teams play in Canada regularly. So the preseason, they do some interesting scheduling like that. Now, in the first game, the Mavs did lose their preseason matchup to the Thunder, 119 to 104. The Thunder had their regular starting five in there. They were playing guys like Chris Paul, Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steven Adams. They were all in the game playing the regular first half. The Mavs, of course, sat out Luka and Kristaps Porzingis, much to the demise of Dallas Mavericks fans, because we thought we would get that first taste of it. Obviously, Rick Carlisle is going to make us wait a little bit longer, but have no fear. Wednesday night, they got a back-to-back. They're going to play against the Detroit Pistons, and Doncic and Porzingis will both play in that game. I know everyone's really excited to see that. I know I'm really excited to see how that dynamic duo finally looks in an actual game. Of course, it's preseason. I'm not going to try to read too much into what happens in that first exhibition game, but it'll at least be interesting to watch. Now, with Luka and KP out, Rick Carlisle had to tinker with the lineup a little bit, and that starting five was definitely an interesting one. They started DeLon Wright at the point guard position. Then they rolled out the three wings that we have talked about that could potentially all start, and Rick Carlisle said, hey, I'm going to start all three of them together. He put Tim Hardaway Jr. at the 2 position, Justin Jackson at the 3. Dorian Finney-Smith was kind of playing that hybrid 4. You know, he was guarding Danilo Gallinari, so it actually worked out pretty well in this matchup. And then Maxi Kleber was your starting center because Dwight Powell has a tweaked hamstring. I don't expect Kleber to be the starter on a regular basis, but he did look pretty good in this game. We'll talk about him in a little bit. That's one guy that impressed me, and again, we'll talk about all the guys that impressed me, but I want to know from you guys, who was the most impressive Maverick in the first game of the preseason? Let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you're a big Udai Baba fan. Maybe you just like Boban a lot. Whoever it was, let me know in the comment section. And now I'm going to give you my 3 biggest winners from that preseason game for the Mavs. Obviously, the Mavs didn't win, but we can still look at who did well in that game individually. And the 3 players that stuck out to me were Jalen Brunson, Justin Jackson, and Maxi Kleber. Now, Jalen Brunson just looked really smooth in the offense. He looked like he knew what he was doing. He was running the offense well, running the floor well. He finished with 10 points and 5 assists in just 13 minutes. That's really good from a second-year guard, especially in just a preseason game. Justin Jackson finished with 14 points in 15 minutes. I'll talk about him a little bit more in here in just a second. And then Maxi Kleber, who I just mentioned, 14 points. He had 2 blocked shots. All this in 15 minutes, and he was going up against a much bigger, much stronger Steven Adams. Maxi still looked good. The rebounding is my only concern when it comes to Kleber's play. Now let's get more into Justin Jackson. The dude absolutely played his heart out in this first preseason game. It was basically his way of showing Rick Carlisle, hey, I deserve to be the regular season starter. His 3-point shot looked really good. He was attacking the basket really well. And something that I don't think a lot of fans realize is that Justin Jackson has had a nice floater game since North Carolina, and now it's really showing out with the Dallas Mavericks. It definitely showed out in that first game. That's how he scored a bulk of his 14 points. I believe he only missed 2 shots in that game. I love what I saw out of Justin Jackson. Now, Tim Hardaway Jr., on the other hand, he was the other starting wing next to Justin Jackson at the 2-guard position. He did not have a good game at all. We'll talk about him in just a little bit, but I gotta ask, we just talked about Justin Jackson. Are you on the hype train yet? Are you on the Justin Jackson hype train of, hey, this kid should start? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I've been on it for a while. If you guys have been watching Chat Sports, you know that I have believed in Justin Jackson, and we saw what I believe was starter material in that first preseason game. That's only one game, and you know, I don't want to take too much out of the preseason, but it was a good game from Justin Jackson nonetheless. So let's get back into Tim Hardaway Jr. His stats in that first game against the Thunder were just not good. 3 points, 1 assist, 14% from the field, and 25% from 3. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a veteran player. He should not be putting up these kind of numbers. He went 1 for 7 from the field, and his only made shot was a pull-up 3. I've mentioned this before. If Tim Hardaway Jr. wants a consistent role on this team, he's got to figure out how to be more efficient. And when you're on the floor without KP and Luka, that is your time to say, hey, I can lead this team as a veteran. I can be more efficient. And he didn't do that against the Thunder. Now, one guy I didn't mention is one of my big winners, but is definitely a winner every single game, every time he steps on the floor, is Boban Marjanovic. I loved what I saw out of Boban in the limited minutes that he got against Steven Adams, and that's why the Mavs signed him. Because when Porzingis and Powell and Maxi are all healthy, they're not going to always want those guys to bang against the bigger guys like Steven Adams. That is a strong center, one of, if not the strongest center in the NBA. And then Boban came in and he really held his own. I saw him stand next to Steven Adams, and he literally made Steven Adams look like a small forward, and Boban was the center on the floor. He finished with 7 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. He's actually a really good passing big man, and that was just in 9 minutes of play. So when we see Boban in extended minutes, I'm really, really excited to see what he can do when he's unleashed. And let's not forget the fact that he made a 3. He went 1 for 2 from beyond the three-point arc. I think Rick Carlisle's giving him the green light to shoot the 3. Something I found really interesting from the Mavs overall in that first game, every single player, including Boban Marjanovic, that played, shot a 3-pointer. And that's something that is going to mark this team all season long, is that 3-point shooting. Now, Mavs fans, before I give you the Detroit Pistons Dallas Mavericks preview, I want to let you know about our partners at BetDSI. They're hooking up all of you Mavs fans up with a special promo code NBA120. Here's what's going to happen. You put some money down on a game, they're going to give you a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down some money, they're going to give you some money to bet with at BetDSI. Use this link, chatsports.com/bet. Start betting on some NBA games. Start making some money with BetDSI. Now let's preview this Detroit Pistons matchup. So the Pistons have already played one preseason game as well. They lost to the Orlando Magic on Monday night, 115-91. And really, all of their starters, their normal starters, played. They didn't have anyone sit out like the Mavs did with Luka and KP. Blake Griffin ended up playing 14 minutes. I kind of expected him to be on a quote-unquote load management kind of schedule with this preseason, but he played 14. He'll probably play about 15 minutes each preseason game, as should most starters in the NBA. Andre Drummond played a little bit longer because he doesn't really have the health concerns Blake Griffin does. He played for 20 minutes. You know, they looked fine, but they still lost to the Magic. I don't want to get too deep into what they looked like in that first game. But their lineup, their starting 5, they had Reggie Jackson at the starting point guard position. This will be their starting 5 regularly. Bruce Brown at the 2, Tony Snell at the 3, Blake Griffin, and then Andre Drummond down low. That's who I expect to play against the Dallas Mavericks. That's who I expect the Mavs to have to prepare to match up against. And now, tonight, this is what was on the media guide. This is what was on the media pass for tonight's game. The projected Mavs lineup. You get DeLon Wright. You finally get to see Luka Doncic back on the court. Justin Jackson is going to be the projected starting forward next to Kristaps Porzingis. We'll see him in a Maverick uniform for the first time on the floor. And then Maxi Kleber still the starting 5 because Dwight Powell is not traveling with the Mavs with the tweaked hamstring. I expect him to play on Friday in that Milwaukee Bucks game in Dallas. So that's your projected starting 5 for the Mavs against the Detroit Pistons. And really, the only thing anyone cares about right now is the duo of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. They are finally going to be on the floor together. These are two young studs that realistically could average 25 plus points per game apiece this season. Luka, obviously, he's the floor general. He's going to be the one dishing out the assists, getting points. He can really do it all. He's a triple-double threat every single night. And then it's Porzingis, shot blocker, great shooter, 7'3". Honestly, he's overpowered if you really look at it. He is a 7'3", just monster that can shoot from anywhere on the floor. Here's what I want you guys to do, because we're all hyped about it. We're all ready to watch them. I want you to predict their Game 1 preseason stats. Luka and Porzingis, put it down in the comment section below. I'm going to assume these guys only play about 15 minutes apiece. And I think they both get into the double digits of scoring. Luka's going to have some more assists. KP, a few blocks here and there. But I want you guys to predict it down below in the comment section. Now, obviously, Luka and Porzingis are the main two that we're going to be watching tonight. There's no doubt about that. I don't really know if anyone realizes anyone else is playing. But I have 4 other players that I think Mavs fans need to keep an eye on throughout this game. Justin Jackson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and Seth Curry. Now, let's start out with Maxi Kleber, talk more about him here. He got to play against Steven Adams. He looked really, really good. I'm excited to see what he can do against another big man like Andre Drummond. That's an elite center. Maxi Kleber matched up okay on the offensive end with Adams, but defensively, he was just getting pushed around. I want to see what he can do against a guy like Andre Drummond. The biggest thing for Kleber is that he showed that he can stretch the floor consistently. I still believe that he will do that. He's a great shot blocker, as we already know. I just want to see him rebound the ball a little bit better against Andre Drummond. Now, Seth Curry, why should we watch him? Well, in that first game against the Thunder, he only played 9 minutes. He didn't play that much. He did hit a 3. He looked good in his limited time. But if we can see a little bit more extended time with him and where he fits into this offense, that's what I'm interested in watching, because I believe Seth should be that 6-man role. I think he will be. Him and Tim Hardaway Jr. both in that similar 6-man role. Come off the bench, provide immediate scoring. We didn't get to see a lot of that in the first preseason game. I'm hoping we see more of it against the Pistons. Now let's talk more about this game tonight for the Dallas Mavericks and for you guys, for the fans. What time does it start? 6 o'clock. Make sure you are tuned in. 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Porzingis and Luka Doncic will be playing on the floor together. Really, I shouldn't have to give you any other reason to watch than that right there. And if you want to watch it, check it out on Fox Sports Southwest. They always broadcast all the Mavs games, so that is where you're going to find this game. And then, hey, tune in with me, all things Mavs, on Twitter. Make sure you're following Chat Sports. We'll give you all the recaps, all the highlights, all game long. And I want to end this show on a question for you guys. How many Mavs preseason games are you going to be watching leading up to the regular season? I'm watching all of them. Let me know how many you're watching in the comment section below.